Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you, pretending you got a sliver. You're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know we got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back, and Scooby-Doo, if you come through, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you. You're ready and you're willing. If we can count on you, Scooby-Doo, I know we'll catch that villain.
Okay, and normally I would have been streaming the table tonight, but I forgot to pull the trigger on it. So I was sitting there waiting, okay, and then I thought it's already about ready to wrap up, so no point even bothering. So we got the game. It's about ready to pull on up here. We'll just get that in here. And then we're going to add the screen. I said I find it's better to wait until I actually get the game running. It simplifies things then. Makes it a little less boring for those of you watching at home or wherever. Hold on here. Just trying to recruit some audience here. Bugs are really getting nuts. Okay. So let's go ahead and get that going there and use that so I'm not using up too much memory. Wow. Pull that up. Okay. So we're gonna do is regular battle royale right now. Let's take a look at the actually look at the shop first. See what things changed. Yes, the Mothman has arrived. He looks, I don't know what the hell. Anybody remember the AHA video? Take on Me. That's the vibe I'm getting there. Then we got this again. I've never played Repo. The only thing I've seen of it, frankly, is the promo for this collab. So, little things. Okay, but I can see the complaints though. They don't look right when they're tall. But you got to even everything out for the sake of playability, though. Interesting. Hey, Daniel. All right, hold on. Let's get this. Jump around too much. Right. Okay, Marigold. Actually, I wouldn't mind really getting her. This says. I'll keep that in mind for one day down the line. Fortunately, circumstances have conspired. It's like, no, you ain't getting shit for a while. Oh. Rather Grizzly Grisabelle. Yeah. There you go. I'm glad this stuff is coming to the item shop because that means they'll be back. Well, what the hell that's about, right? Okay, I'm guessing the Scooby Gang's already. Okay. That's just wrong. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Calling finished.
Yeah, I want to get that one at some point. I remember when it first came out. Yeah. And jacket. I really, Tim Burton is really kind of, runs kind of hot and cold, and it's like, what's part? Like, okay, they're still kicking on. Okay. Another, variation on a default skin, but okay. Then we got these guys. So Heidi, huh? Yep. All right. All right. Certain skins will be fine, not with Mandalorian, though. Okay, Terminator bundle still going here. Yeah, I think I would prefer to just to get set. Now, if they were bring Conan, that would be one I want to be. If this is the Red Sonja movie on your brains, they do a collab there too. Unfortunately, that movie's just kind of. I mean, the best praise it could have put on is it could have been much worse. They dodged several bullets, but they couldn't dodge them all. They still, carried over from the original script, which apparently stunk on ice, and all kinds of fun little agenda items on there. So, yeah, look at this. It's clearly a choice. Okay, I don't know. Not going to bother. I maxed out on the passes, so no point in checking. All right. Crack shield. Assault rifles are max. Yeah, I can do that one too. And trouble. This is small sprinting. 250 is not very far. Weekly. Still need to take out somebody. Probably Carver because he's the easiest. And if I can do it with a pumpkin launcher, even better. Got expertise things. Oh, look, a new story one. All right. It's something to do. Okay? It gives me a reason to play. Ow. Okay. Alrighty. Hmm. A good chunk of the table was taken up with, ranking tier, thing, and then they were doing all the Resident Evil games. And it's like, I've only seen some of the movies. I'm aware of the games, obviously. No way, get around and not be aware of the games. And but I haven't even really seen playthroughs. I mean, Mila Jovovich has more experience with it, and she doesn't play. Her brother plays, and she would sit by and direct. Oh yeah, turn there, that door there, But she never actually took the controls. Shit, I need to clean this table over. Oh, and I found a working shredder out by the trash today, so we're gonna be busy. All these bank statements from 15 years ago, bye, Oh, so shredding the current ones. We get everything online. I don't know what that was about. Okay. Oh, we got 2 viewers. And I can't get to this even. All right. Is it going to be all X again? Come on. Yep, both of them X. Well, okay. Nope. There we go. Oh, come on. As the thing unlocks. There we go. Okay. All right. Come on. It may only be 2 people, but an audience is an audience. Okay, come on. Ooh, let's see. Actually, all icons in the corner for the mic, and looks like a video. All the little things I discovered. Come on. There we go. Where the hell am I? Way the hell away from here. All right, all right, come on. Oh, come on. Damn it, come on. Quit locking up on me. There, come on. Will you stop doing that? God, it's going to get me killed. I need a vehicle. Hey, a car. And some other goodies too. So get that, get that, get that. Weasel dick son of a bitch. Come on, god damn it. Stop it. Come on, god damn it. Fucker, come on. God damn it, come on. Okay, this could hurt. Shit. Fuck it. What the hell just happened here? Alright, let's get out of here. Well,
The knife is yours.
come on. Damn it. Okay. Okay. Where's Jason? Gotta go. Got a few points. Come on. Now. All right. Okay. All right. Don't be locking up on me now. Come on. Decisions. Come on. Swap it around so I know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. Okay, where is anybody? All right. I better get out of here. Damn it! Come on! Bitch, where are you? Fucker! God. That to just totally lock up on me, Lyra. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can get a decent game in here. I also got a glass of milk while I'm waiting for this thing to get back. All right, let me throw up a video here real quick while this thing is doing its thing. Give me a chance to do a little cross promotion by this stuff. Two, three, four. Come on. God, this is sluggish tonight. There we go. Almost. God. Oh, come on. There we go. I think almost. There we. All right. Now we're good. God, I got everything turned off and it's still running like crap. Okay. Okay. Two, three. Okay. All right. Let me dig up a video here so a little something different besides me being frustrated and you getting bored. So. Okay, all right. Well, wait for this thing to stop locking up on me here before I'm trying. Come on. There we go. Oh, for Christ's sakes, now what? All right. There we go. There we. Okay. Now. Skip that. All right. And. I need something a few minutes long. Okay, this one goes back a little bit, about half an hour. I'll be back in a bit here. So. Once this thing finally decides to wake up, come on, get out of the way. Okay, that's set. And we're waiting for the oh, you piece of crap. Come on. Let's try that again. Come on. Nothing else is going on. This should not be happening. Dang it, I have so much of this stuff. It's like, yeah. So many of the videos in the folder here about indie. I don't want to go with the indie stuff if I'm not doing a dedicated indie stream or videos. I want to keep us, a little lighter. So let's try that again. Okay, yeah, this is about the issue of messing with Canon. It's about 35 minutes. Back in a second. I'm going to stretch my legs a bit.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
I may have to restart this. Try that. One more time.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
Hey kids, we're put aside the personal crusades for a minute here and get back to business here, namely discussing Star Trek and what is going on with it and the people of dubious intent who are, I don't know, has Akiva Goldsman got some sort of professional death wish? I gotta think it's a bit of an echo, the delay on there. They're talking about how they're going to be running up against, Canon pretty soon. So, laughing. Oh, we're, trying. Yeah. You are so far outside of Canon, Akiva. It's not even funny. And you think you're going to start messing around with Canon to try and make it fit your stuff? Wrong. This is beyond the third rail of Star Trek here. Where, you're not just grabbing the third rail. You're getting naked, covered with bacon grease, and throwing yourself on there for maximum conductivity. It's not going to end well. To take the Galaxy Quest thing, these are the historic documents. They have been backed up time and time again through Next Gen, and whenever they've gone back to these eras, they have duplicated them with fanatical religious, fervor, and to maintain the look. Yeah, this is it. This is what it looked like. Screw what you think about. Oh, it's a hooky in '60s. Screw you. That's how it worked. That's how it looked. Those were the uniforms. That was the ship. Those are the sets. That's the technology. Sorry from Coca-Cola. Seabud sponsor me, for God's sake. I'm cheap. But you start trying to... there are so many... I'm going to put a couple links to previous videos about the necessity of maintaining canon and maintaining adherence to canon. When you start straying outside of this, and you start thinking, well, nobody cares about that. No, a lot of people do care. Look at the shelves on back here, or the reference books back here. Those aren't cheap, especially the two boat anchor, right there. Those two suckers right there. That's a lot of time and time spent in collating all that stuff. A lot, more than a little bit of money spent buying it and studying it and going through it. binder in the back there with Spock's face poking out, that's all my concordance stuff. Original version, the fan version, the Ballantine version, the later edition. There's also notes from Ruth Berman putting T negative, pointing out things that Mijo kind of missed or over. Because one criticism that she's trying to categorize every proper noun in the Star Trek universe, like that's not necessary. Stuff like that, And so when you say that we don't pay much attention, yeah, that doesn't matter. You're telling us that one, you're lying to the audience. You're pulling everything you see is a lie. What lie? And then why the hell am I watching this? Because if you're saying it, then we're wasting our time. Bye. And you're also insulting the audience and saying that you've wasted your time and effort and money in researching all this stuff because it doesn't matter anyway. Even South Park has better respect for the audience by that. It wasn't by making a joke of it, Kenny dying every week, at least for the first several years. And one time they did where he nearly died several times, and the kids say, "Hey, no, something doesn't seem right." And zoom in on Kenny, and he's jumping up and down because he's still alive. But yeah, this is like this. We finally got the first accurate model of the 11-foot model. For years, they're having to deal with a silly thing. It's like, well, yeah, close enough for most purposes, but that wasn't right. A lot of time and research has been put on both sides, both by fans and by the professionals, to make sure everything matches up. It's insane what they did for Trials and Tribulations to get those sets right, and bringing Bob and when even that one little wedge for the bridge in Relics that they actually built, it was like the center area with the command chair and the helm, turbo lift doors, and one console. And that had to match up with the still frame the scene they got from This Side of Paradise with the empty bridge. Everything had to match up there. But when they did Trials and Tribulations, they built full thing, corridors, more of the bridge, K7, matching the costume, the Klingons and the old style Klingon. The only thing they had to reproduce on there was the belt buckles, which was actually bubble wrap on a painted gold thing there. Everything else was actual original costumes that they had in storage from the series. And then when Enterprise did these Mirror Darkly, they went to insane levels to match everything up. And like Doug Drexler said, you like that set properly. That looks more futuristic than anything they've done since then. Because you can't tell how the hell that works. I could get on the bridge of the Enterprise D, and with the graphics, I could rudimentally figure out how to fly that thing, because you got everything kind of laid. Okay, yeah, this here, land a course. Okay, you punch these numbers over here. On that original series bridge, it's just buttons. What the hell do you do here? How the hell does this work? The fact that you can't figure it out, and the thing is, it looks like it should work. That's it's like that aircraft sensibility that Matt Jeffries pushed. It's like it doesn't matter if you can. It has to. It looks like it works. It looks like it's it's been laid out by somebody who knows what the hell's going on. Like with this ship, it's like this is not a sci-fi type of thing. The JJ prize, that's a sci-fi design because it looks funky, swoopy, and everything. That looks more 60s than this thing. This thing looks like it was built in the 40s by the Navy. But yeah, you start going to that, and you're showing that you really don't appreciate the attention and the dedication of the fans who research this stuff and study it, and make sure you're telling them they wasted their time, their money. They're just consumers to you. They're not fans. They're customers, and you're trying to peddle stuff at them. And this is where just modern day Trek in general falls apart. And it's also why season 3, again, debate all the pros and cons. So why season 3 is so appreciated by a lot of fans, because it's actually rewarding us for paying attention. It's trying to stay true to Berman era Trek at least. And why you get the Easter eggs and the throwbacks here and the characterizations. They are spot on. Everyone's finally playing their parts as they were. Patrick Stewart is finally playing Jean-Luc Picard. He's not playing Patrick Stewart waiting to die. You know, Jonathan Frakes is playing Riker again, playing better than the previous times he's done it. I'm not sure what he was doing the cameo, but that was just Jonathan Frakes goofing off in the woods. Marina Sirtis being old and bitter like she is in normal life. And everyone had a show. It wasn't the Mary Sue in that either. Everyone had a part to play. Everyone contributed. Everyone was able to figure out, and then based on their expertise. So it wasn't like they were reading somebody else's lines. Even Beverly, when David is doing his Return of the Jedi swooping through the Borg cube, Beverly stuff that Beverly would come up with, life sign readings. Yeah, okay, that focus on that. Everything was very much, and yes, it was fan service. After the past several years of abuse of the audience, you're damn right. We needed that fan service. It's like, yes. Bring on the lap dance of the Orion slave girls and the 15-minute Dan job. Yes, you damn well better service us. We've been putting up with a lot of this crap over the past few years. Now, and they get a Star Trek legacy, I think things would settle down. Okay, we've established things here. The only thing better would be to break completely from the Discovery universe. Retcon out, because that's a lot of things people missing. When, like the New Jersey, that is a retcon out of the Disco Prize. That's a lot. And them saying, we haven't seen the Borg in 10 years. What do you mean? We saw them last year. That's basically the retcon. No, they didn't. We're ignoring that. And that goes with my little theory that this is the timeline trying to realign itself with the main Star Trek timeline. So far, we've been watching alternate timelines, which I don't like alternate timelines. Because this kind of garbage comes up with it. I figure in the main timeline, there is a more legitimate reason for why Picard has a robot body. But that's one of those fixed points in time you got to hit when you're doing the temporal shit. And going along, and you proceed on along. Riker and Troy had a daughter, had a son. I'll check that out later. And he died from some disease. And the fact that the cure was somehow based on synth life, that is stupid. It makes no sense. It's them throwing technobabble around. They don't know what they're talking about. But we can figure in the main timeline, something made a little more sense. It was some other inoperable disease. It's just like how, in the Mirror Universe, Kirk became captain of the Enterprise by assassinating Christopher Pike. Not through a transfer of command and Pike, going off to, be fleet captain somewhere. There's precedent on this. You can back it up and things. But you start, playing around with, we don't really pay attention. We play, we're going to, we're just having fun. Yeah, you're having lots of fun right until the point where the audience abandons you. And also this little thing about this is just going to, it's not going to go to a good place. Give it up. Please, don't go there. You don't want to go there. You went there too much when that last episode of last season where you basically cut and pasted Balance of Terror did not give any credit to the author or even to the episode itself. There's some little twist. We own it anyway. We can do what we want. No, you can't. Somebody's going to file a class action lawsuit because you've ripped off so many writers. You're going to file a class action grievance with the Writers Guild, and this product, they're going to pay dearly. When they start going through, Ursula K. Le Guin, you owe screen credit and some royalties. Dorothy Fontana's estate, you owe some royalties that because you ripped off her book, Vulcan's Glory, for the Una's backstory. You definitely owe Paul Schneider's estate bunch of bucks for what you did to Balance of Terror. Harlan Ellison, you're lucky he's not come back from the dead and screaming at you personally for what you did with City and Edge of Forever. Reportedly, it was in his will. Do not let Star Trek touch City and the Edge of Forever. Because he was constantly getting, through the years, people wanting to use the Guardians. No, you can't touch it. I think it is his testament to how much he liked Dorothy Fontana that he let her do that, for yesteryear. Otherwise, like, no, you can go pound sand. You're not touching my story. He when he found out that and during the rewrite process that that Roddenberry had handed the rewrite over to one of the producers, and it's like the old story goes that while Harlan was in the outer office with the secretary before going into the main room with Gene, he had fashioned a little hangman's noose, hung it up, just outside the door. So you open the door, you can see the thing hanging there. Okay, door opens up. Harlan goes in, points to the noose. Tell me someone else did not touch my words. He is very. He always does his own rewrites. You can give him notes, say you want to change this and this, but no one else touches Harlan Ellis' script. and part of the history, that was one of the first writers signed on because he was real high. Yeah, finally, an adult science fiction show that's not going to insult our intelligence. No, none of these wisecracking, dopey computers and wisecracking kids. Reference to Lost in Space. And probably a few other early Allen things going at the time. They're just dumb, more Rocky Space Rangers, whatever. And he was, Sid and the Edge of Forever was one of the first stories that was commissioned. But, back in the time when the first, the second pilot was just still kicking out there. And they're trying to get writers lined up, and he was leading the charge with the bunch. And the fact that it was the last episode filmed, that's how long it took to wrangle that thing out to a workable form. And yeah, things were done rather badly, but I do tend to side with Roddenberry and the production that no, these things had to happen. Because Roddenberry was of the opinion, we need heroes. These people are supposed to be heroes. Kirk is not acting like a hero if he lets Spock save the day. And Dorothy Fontana in the one of the afterwards in the trade paperback regarding City of Forever said if he had submitted his story for like Twilight Zone or Outer Limits, it probably would have gone largely as is. I mean, just scaled back for budgetary reasons, but the story would have been the same. The captain would have ready to sacrifice everything for the girl, but his cold, calculating first officer saves the day. But the thing is that something never quite sunk in with Harlan is we got to live with these guys. You write your story and you're off to the next thing. We got to live with these guys next week. Okay, there's no way we could have Kirk shirk his responsibility and then look at him next week and still have the same respect for him. Oh yeah, well you were ready to chuck us out of the dustbin for some broad in 1930. No, screw you. Getting a little far afield here, but. Like I keep saying, as far as canon and non-canon, the canon is set. You don't alter the canon. It's already set. Original series, animated series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, movies. You're either compliant with that canon, which I think Lower Decks is. Prodigy, except for the couple of background graphics, they're compliant. Everything else is like, no. Discovery blew that in like the first 5 minutes of the first episode. It never came back. Strange New Worlds, by attaching us to it and keeping the same different aesthetic is also no, not even close. You're not even in the same same quadrant. And Picard, season 1 and 2, same thing. No, not even close. These people are not the people we know. It's like, Season 3 is trying to get as close as they can, except for the couple of lead weights tied to them. They had no choice but to keep along. But even then, you managed somehow, to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. You managed to work, the stupid idea of, the android body and actually, okay, well, what do you do with the old body? And then kind of following up on the precedents that we have, where they got James Kirk on ice at, Daystrom Station. Why wouldn't they have Picard? Probably someone at Section 31 noticed that that's not Aeromotic syndrome. Let's keep an eye on him. When something happens, like, grab him. And managed to work it into a decent plot point. But so while no, Picard season 3 is not canon, it's damn close. It's respectful of canon. It's as compliant to canon as it can be under the circumstances. And for that, I think they deserve a certain amount of respect and appreciation. And as such, that is the one season of Picard that I will allow in this house. You try and send me anything else, so that you send me the first 2 seasons. You give me anything of Discovery or anything, and I will think, what did I do to you? This, I don't need any more coasters. Okay. Yeah. But I've got every release of Lower Deck so far. I got the first release of Prodigy. Still waiting for the second half of season 1. But that's the only episode I plan on watching of Strange New World ever is that crossover with Lower Decks, just to see what kind of damage are we going to look at here. It's like, are they going to go on and like this is perfectly normal? That's what no. If they do that, then they've blown the deal. I don't care if you got Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid. That's not Beckett. That's not Beckett and Mariner. There, that's not Beckett Mariner. That's not Brad Boimler. Those are 2 guys just walking around in their clothes. Because if there isn't some kind of long stop litany from Boimler saying that's not right. No, this ship is not. That's not. Why is he doing? What are they doing here? They don't come on until 3 years later. If that's not there in some form, I'm going to be very disappointed, Mike McMahon. You know they're screwing around with canon as much as I do, okay? You got a much better hand on this. You better do some way to not ruin the integrity of your own show in the process of, because they want to do a crossover. Oh, do you now? All right. But, again, you start trying, you cannot rewrite the canon. It is set. It is chiseled in duranium. You're not going to overwrite the original series or any of the rest of them. Acknowledge that and, admit you're in an alternate timeline. That's a big thing. If they would just admit they're doing alternate timeline stories, that would stop 90% of the fighting. It's trying to insist, no, we're canon. Bull. You are not canon. You have no claim to being canon. You got a legal right to make Star Trek stories under the license from Paramount. That doesn't qualify. Whoops. Stupid screensaver. Get back up. Yeah, stuff's going crazy on Twitter. I have to get to that later. But part of the criteria of being canon is being set up by the creator or those appointed by the creator to caretake his baby. So, unless it was made by Gene Roddenberry or by those he designated to continue on his work, Rick Berman, Michael Piller, Jerry Taylor, those guys, until, and that ended with the last season of Enterprise. And frankly, even that last episode is questionable. I don't think nobody liked that. It was a good intentioned idea as sort of a Valentine to the entire franchise, but it came off as just suddenly the cast of Enterprise is finishing up as guest stars on someone else's show. That went over badly. The fact that they mangled everything in the process only made things worse. It doesn't even match up with the timeline that's what they're talking about. This is supposed to be during the episode, during the events of the Pegasus. It doesn't fit in there. There's no window of time for Riker to go waltzing off to the holodeck to try and figure out what he wants to do with his life. It's a pretty jam-packed episode of what they're doing moment to moment. It also doesn't help that Marina Sirtis has visibly aged in the time there. This is one of those cases where most of these problems with the shows during that era would have been solved by just a simple little rewrite. Instead of during the Pegasus, if they had it where Riker is contemplating taking, accepting command of the Titan. If they had framed it in that, and because Nemesis has already come out by then. It already established. So if they'd done it during that period, that would have worked because it would have been a more appropriate age. They could have, didn't have to worry about what can they fit in the old uniforms. It's like, no, they put them in their movie uniforms and play with it from there. And then, and even then, you still, because, they did not have the refit NX-01. And while the uniforms are nice, interesting change there, but that got retconned out by Picard season 3 because we see the NX-01 at the Starfleet Museum, and it's got that secondary hull. Anyway, I'm going to have to answer that one. But so yeah, with the exception, no, that's the canon. Everyone, even the people, the actors didn't like it. The writers really didn't like it. The Berman and Braga both apologized profusely for that one. That's something I have yet to see out of anybody else on this thing. They think their shit don't stink. No, it stinks to high hell, and we don't like it. Like I said, this is a fine ship. It ain't the Enterprise. It's not going to be the Enterprise, I might think. I've declared this the Yorktown class, which immediately preceded, not the Constitution, the 18-inch AMT kit, which I'm decided to call the Bonholm Richard class, and then on to the Constitution class. This is as close as we're going to get in that size. It's like, it's better because, again, this was John E.'s original proposal for the NX-01. It got nuked because, no, it's too close to Kirkship, try again. And hand out to Doug Drexler, he gave us that. What he did, a lot of the same elements there, but he deliberately left off the secondary hull with the intention of adding it later. They wanted the ship to look unfinished, and then they get to the fourth season, have the refit, put that, okay, yeah, now we're going somewhere. I had a similar idea with that before I saw you. So I saw Drexler's version. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, chalked up the great minds think alike. But I would keep this. I'm going to do it up, as a, I'd say, late 22nd century, early 23rd century starship. It's not going to be the Enterprise. It's going to be more era and size appropriate starship, just preceding the ones we're familiar with. It's filling the gap. It's another addition to the fossil record. And that's also one of the advantages of having a well-maintained canon and backstories. You can fit things in where they properly belong. You can figure these things out. The way Claire, that when JJ got his shit together, he didn't give a rat's ass about anything. Anyway, I'm going to edit this.
3 hours later.
All right. So, in conclusion, it kind of goes back to saying a lot of time. Either you're the project within a given property, and this is anybody, not just Star Trek. It's anything you're basing on an existing property. You're either compliant with canon or you're not canon. Especially if you try and contradict that canon. You can't overwrite it. Even if you have the legal rights to that property, you can't really overwrite it. The canon has been set long before you came along. It's not your place to rewrite other people's work in that case. Especially when that work, previous work, has a dedicated fan base and a whole lot of ancillary material that's been built up around that canon. Akiva Goldsman, Alice Kurtzman, you cannot come back and tell me that what is on those shelves didn't happen within that universe. That the Enterprise did not look like this. And those uniforms, nothing matches. Okay, it's like some of the designs, like somebody kind of described it over the phone. With no actual evidence, they didn't see any actual pictures. They didn't watch any of the episodes. It's just like, what? Yeah, how's that work? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's close. Like they're not even trying to match up with established canon. And a lot of times they're actively contradicting it, and they wonder why a very vocal contingent of the fan base is decrying them as idiots. And And yeah, this is like any established property. You either, stick to what was been established or like go make your own. But don't come stumbling in trying to improve things for modern audiences. It was good enough for there to be a property for you to sign on to. Okay. I mean, arguably Battlestar Galactica, he had a vocal thing, but it was also very small. He only had one season. Nobody wants to count Galactica 1980. Okay. You had one season of episodes going on, and you look at them honestly, most of them actually stunk on ice. It was not a well-written show. Very cheesy and very thrown together too, because they weren't ready for a full series when ABC ordered, no, we want it now. It's like they didn't have any scripts ready. They were throwing things together. The stuff that should have gone through a few rewrites was just thrown up as is. And it really wasn't until the very end they started to get their feet under them. I think it was Don Belisario really started turning into good stuff. But there were others that like, no, this is just blatantly ripping off, like the one where the fight, one was a blatant rip-off of High Noon, one was a blatant rip-off of the Guns of Navarone. It's like they just, no. Enough. That's also why I hate these rushed timeline thing where we got to make this air date, we got to get out, and you don't realize certain things take time. And usually when you try and push things before they're ready, disastrous things happen. You either get horrible things like the Titanic going down, or Apollo 1 fire, or just minor news like Alien 3, stuff like that. Or Star Trek motion picture being rushed into theaters before it was finished. That's why I've really grown to despise the theatrical cut like it's something holy. You want to see the actual movie the way it was really as close to intended as you're going to get the director's edition, especially the Blu-ray. That's the finished movie. The theatrical cut is a curiosity now. It's the longest test screening in motion picture history. It's like Bob Weiss, the only movie he never had a test screening. Well, this is it. It's been tested in various formats. They did a revision when they threw in a lot of old footage and back in there. And it's still not quite right. And then around 2000 or so, in doing the DVD release of it, and they wanted to contribute stuff, and it's like, you're making me finish. I'm going to finish my movie now. And I think someone pointed out in his contract that he was guaranteed final cut and never got it. And so he was putting, no, this is, you want me to work on this thing? We're going to finish the damn movie. And while, the DVD version of the director's edition, it's about 98% there. It's still not quite, but that's a proof of concept. This is what we wanted to do back in 79. Okay. And then with the Blu-ray, it's like, okay, this is finally it. I do wish they had stuck back in Nimoy's sort of ad-lib. But looking back on it, he had a few cute lines in there as it is, so it would have been a little bit overkill. But I think it would have been nice, even if the deleted scenes, if they had found a workable, presentable clip. And apparently they shot it several times. But if Nimoy, we can have you back on Vulcan in 3 days, Mr. Spock. If Dr. McCoy is to remain on board, my presence here my presence here is essential. That would have been, I think that would have gone a long way towards wiping out, the bad taste that's a boring. Everyone back in character, and Spock sniping at McCoy again. That would have been, yes, perfect. He's back to himself. The only capper on the end of it would be because I was at the time in the theater with my dad sitting next to me, who got me out of geometry class that day to go watch this movie. Sitting there, and I was hoping the course, sir, you have to head. And I was waiting for that Peter Pan line, second star to the right and straight on to a morning. But now he's like, out there, that away. It's like, well, that's kind of a cheat. Okay. That's also why I like Star Trek 6, because they did do that line. And Shatner put it perfectly. But so and one thing I like is I think CinemaSins did everything wrong with or something. But someone dubbed in that line over the motion picture ending. It's like, yeah, it works. You should have gone with that. It was obvious. Sometimes the obvious thing is good. But, Kiva, don't. You start bumping into, the original series timeline and start crossing over the things. Just stop. You're done. You run the end of your course there. Of course, he also thinks the cage is still coming up. No, it's not. It happened 3 or 4 years ago. It was addressed during Discovery. When they returned to, the Talos 4, stupidly. They made the Talosian... Did you miss the part that Talosian gravity is slightly lighter, less than Earth, and would not produce big, tall, hulking beings like you presented? This is the thing when they're going to this thing and they don't realize this was all thought out back in '64, and they were arguing what are the Talosians going to look like. Originally, I think they were talking kind of crab-like creatures. I think it was someone from Calendar Forest came back. You're talking like 0.75 of her. That would produce creatures kind of on the slightly frail side. And that's how we got to the old ladies playing these butthead people. They would be smaller and much more frail looking because they don't have to be big and bulky. The gravity doesn't require that. That's one of the reasons we looked at because we in our gravity this up to the point. That's also why, if we start colonizing Mars, purely a Martian-born human comes over to Earth, he'd be, he'd have to go around in a wheelchair because he wouldn't be able to, handle Earth gravity unless they take some drastic measures, over, to simulate Earth gravity somehow. And because Mars is half our size. But that's getting way off the weeds here. Okay, so let's just don't. It'll only end in misery for all concerned because you're going to start another fight with the fans, and you're already in the middle of one now. Just don't, okay? And we'll talk at you later. There we go. All right, yeah. And obviously, no one's listening to me because they started. It's Star Trek Year 1, or Kirk's first year in the Enterprise. Really? No, don't. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, they're going up against a change in leadership at Paramount, where they're not going to go for this crap. So let's go ahead, get the game back up. Okay. 6 people watching. Whoops. No, look at that. 5 on X, 1 on YouTube. So one person can look down at those descriptions and see what can you do to support this channel. Hopefully get me a better system and some money so I'm not in the hole all the damn time. And Okay, so we got 2 more. Well, damage opponents. Okay. 100 point. Don't even have to take them out. Just do 100 points worth. Okay. Let's just get in here. Apparently somebody will think that the smaller map for the Simpsons miniseries is addressing the concerns that were raised during the Star Wars. Everything's too far apart. It's like, okay, well, I don't think the answer was shrinking the map. Just put everything closer together. Just put Springfield in the center of the map, and the rest of the maps leave alone. Maybe extra freak. You just have it cell shaded within the area, and outside it's regular. That could be fun. That shouldn't be too hard to do. And by the way, if any of these, the 5 people watching on X or Indie Spies or Indie yourself to review my pinned comment. I think Jade nailed it to the wall right there. It's like, A little nugget of wisdom for someone who's been there, gone through it, came out the other side, and is healing. Now, this is what's going on. Up. Corn Kang. Simpsons is beginning. Yeah, let's do it down here. Keep moving, make a harder target. What do we got down there? Do that. And then hold that for now. Fine. I don't have time for this shit. Bitch. Bitch. Cunt. Now. I got that. And I better get the hell out of here, actually. Bye. Everywhere I go, there's always an asshole. Check upstairs real quick. Nope. Damn it. That was close. Ah, you pets. Fine. Not worth it. Wipe it. Okay. Whoops. What have I got? Got something in a sniper rifle? That'd be a negative. No, it's downstairs. Run, dude. Come on. Right. Okay. Hate when it happens. Come on. Stop that. Fine. Fucker. Up one. There you are. Okay. Up to 7 people. But somebody finds this entertaining. Guess I'm maxed out on gold. The boons seem to be getting harder to come by. Don't have time for this. Come on.
What's your favorite
Oh,
scary
for
game?
Christ's sakes.
The question is, where am I?
Yeah, I think someone took out Deadpool. All right. Or maybe it wasn't. No. That's the thing. There's so many of these damn things. Little phone booths. You have an entire lobby of Ghostface running around going wacky on each other. I think that should have been all the. That should have been all the quests. The daily quests. And for the most part, I don't really worry about anything else because everything's going to reset soon anyway. Including all the gold. It's going to go away. So sad. I like gold. Oh, yeah, there they are again. Okay. So again, I'm very disappointed they didn't rebuild the club. It looks like it's a big chunk of it. I'm going to repave the road. Shit! Bitch, where are you? Yeah, I didn't have much chance there. Okay, this guy's either married to a gal named Karen or has a daughter named Karen. Wait, did I? Hold on. I didn't check the quest. Did I even go back to the lobby? We're good. Okay. Use automatic behavior patterns. All right. Check the quests. Yeah. Okay. Dailies are done. Story is done. I did the dailies. Did the. And again, I can't say I'm not worried about it. So I think at this point, I think, it's been about an hour and a half. I don't want to get much longer than that anyway, so I'm just going to go and wrap it here. Yeah. Nobody really want to jump in on and annoy, so we'll just go and bail here. Alrighty, so yeah, I still got to do that video on the White House issue. Because people getting on their high horse. Oh, he's doing the people. No, it's a public. It's like presidents have been doing things to the White House for as long as there's been a White House, as long as we've had presidents. Okay. Some of it's been out of necessity because Truman had to gut the entire place and basically rebuild the structure from the inside because it was literally falling apart. And also security changes and everything, and they've added stuff. Didn't used to be a basement. Now you got levels going down and bunkers and adding the east wing and the west wing. And as far like when Obama put in the basketball court, no, apparently they did do a lot of demolition to put in that court. It wasn't just wasn't just redrawing lines. Okay. But there's very little blowback on anything, any presence. When they put in the West Wing, Teddy Roosevelt put that, and he tore down greenhouses that had been here since Jefferson. Okay, you go in the history of the wholesale changes of the very little of the original building is left. Okay. Like parts of the original wall, that's about it. And the thing when they found out when they were doing the Truman thing, tearing everything out, they found the burned up walls from the original thing when the British torched it. And again, it's like, I don't know why from a practical point of view and from a statesmanship point of view, we're supposed to be the world's leading superpower, and we don't have a decent ballroom to hold state dinners and events. How do you think that makes us look to the rest of the world? Presidents have been screaming to put in a ballroom for well over 100 years. Like the only screaming, I don't think, the founders would be offended. The founders would be offended that it took so goddamn long to put in an actual proper ballroom. The Obamas were holding state dinners in tents set up on the South Lawn with porta potties set up for everyone to go to. Dignitaries and heads of state going to porta potties. And you think we were well respected back then? We were a joke. On the world stage, we were seen as hicks and hillbillies, okay? So no, I have no problem with Trump putting on a ballroom because we've been needing a proper former ballroom in the White House for generations. And the fact that it's publicly funded, yeah, guess what? So was President Ford's swimming pool. That was all privately funded. There was no taxpayer money that went into that. So there's a precedent for that. And also I checked in the laws. Oh, you got to be plain and stuff. The White House is one of, the White House, the Capitol, and the Supreme Court are exempted from a lot of these laws. The president has to very little approval process to get something done at the White House. I think it's probably a national security thing, but also this is what the president wants. A lot of times it's frivolous. Like Nixon turning the swimming pool into the press room. I mean, the swimming pool dated back to FDR. He needed it because polio was part of his therapy. But after Kennedy, it's like there's not enough chlorine in the world that would have cleaned that thing. I'm so not get rid of it. Make it a new press room, and Ford put a outside, swimming pool in, and tell it. And there's a tennis pavilion there and stuff, which actually Trump improved on last time around. It was like the last thing he did before, Sleepy joking. And Biden's the only one, they never got around to do anything major. I think maybe they put up solar panels, but you go back to history of the White House, it's like it's been in a constant state of renovation and rebuilding. Okay. So this whole thing, you think Jesus doing it? Yeah, so does every other president. Okay. The difference is it's Trump, so it's got to be bigger and brasher, but it's not exactly unprecedented. He's got the law on his side on this. All right. He's doing. He is pushing things a bit because usually they have everything lined up before demolition begins. But there's nothing preventing him from starting demolition. Okay. So that has begun, and they're taking out more than I thought they were. It's getting the entire West Wing and the connected thing, but it's going to be a lot bigger. There was virtually nothing there anyway. We're not losing some vital fun. It was like the First Lady's office. The calligraphy, where they send out the formal invitations and stuff, where they can do that anywhere. And I think maybe a couple of military attaches. And again, these guys can work anywhere. There was virtually nothing going on there. It was like the big thing. The biggest thing it was the entry place for White House tours, and they've been called off for now anyway. Mainly because that's where all the construction is going on. But it's like, yeah, and. No, Trump has built the lane. He did a major renovation on Penn Station. That was something. And he grew. One thing that Fred Trump did with his kids in developing their properties, they didn't just hand over the keys to them when they got of age. No, he made them work the sites. And Donald's done the same thing with his kids. They're not just rich little spoiled brats who walk into the office. You're on this. No, they worked. They've driven forklifts and worked on putting up walls, so they know what goes into building. Building. They know a thing or two about what goes into making a building. So the thing he doesn't build. No, Rob, look it up. Okay, the man knows buildings. Okay. I didn't say anything much of the time because you were clearly not in the mood to listen. Okay. But Trump. He didn't just buy buildings. He does also build quite a bit too. Okay. He offered to renovate the UN building because it's horribly substandard to what they need now, and they turned him out flat. And that's when first disillusionment is like the UN's really not worth the crap because the stuff they're doing, they're getting away with there, and they're letting slide. This organization is not good. And I also prefer his proposal for the World Trade Center rebuilding. It would have been, the original footprint, pretty much what they are now, Fountain Memorial, but you build them, but new towers, just a little bit offside, because there's plenty of room in that site. They could have rebuilt them originally as they were, back up a little bit bigger and better, fire protection, just a little bit taller. And not with some of the shortcuts that they did in the original ones. Because it was supposed to be, the elevator shaft was supposed to be full concrete all the way up. They weren't. And the fact, when as the attacks are going on, people that had already gotten in the elevators, the ones that were concrete shielded all around, they got up. They didn't know anything was wrong. They got out on the ground floor and said, "What's up?" They left their offices. Everything is fine. By the time they get down to the bottom, all hell's breaking loose. So that was the thing. They should have built them back up to, it's like, no, we're going to build, that would have been a statement right there. Build them back the way they are and better than they were before. Screw you. You're not going to keep us down. I think building them back in any other way, and not really knocking the current building, but I think it should have been to just build them back the way they were. That would have been a statement right there. You're not going to change us. You're not going to force us into things. You have your memorial at the original footprints, but you're back up. And this was long before you talk about running for president. Okay. This is back around, shortly when they're still cleaning out the site. Okay. Back in 2001, 2002. Back when they'd still be on Letterman, they'd still be fairly friendly. But, okay. I think on that note, we will wrap it up here because it's getting late. I'm already losing audience as it is. Down to 5 people. So, I'm going to get more work done because I did manage to make some headway in the dining room area. Because I figured, okay, now that the way it's set up, that I can actually get at stuff and know everything's sorted a bit, so I can start going through it and figuring out what to do with it. I've lowered the skyline in the dining room area, so I can open the door, come in and you actually look and see into the kitchen, not to come all the way around. But I think I'm going to start working on that tomorrow. Because we got a notice from the front office that said, and the thing is like, and there's been no progress. Bullshit, damn well there's been progress. You have pictures of it. You've been here, you've seen the progress. You acknowledge the progress. Don't give me there's no progress yet. But I'm going to get it. And also, hopefully, Clutter Truckers will be back in because we have until the 5th. I think we can pull it off by the 5th. At least get it presentable, And probably start tossing out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of clothes that we can't fit in anymore. Just give them away at this point. Anyway, that's other things. We'll talk at you.